it's like we're kind of in this weird little turning point. We're like on the cusp of the change, but the people from the old way don't exactly know what's happening, and the people from the new way have kind of lost touch with the old. So it's like it's a paradigm shift, and we're kind of caught in the middle of it. So it's kind of, once we see where everything falls out, then we'll be able to assess it, I guess. But right now, it's just really tough because I see it a lot, man. It's really a generation that has no idea about that. You try to do that with them, and they see it as a threat. They don't even see the love in it.
Right.
Like, and it happened pretty fast too, because there was like literally like maybe 4 classes ago that was completely different. They were still like, oh, this is great. Somebody cares about me. What? Somebody loves me enough to make sure I'm doing my work. All right. And they appreciate it, but it literally, I watched it change, and it's pretty far gone, man. It's kind of scary.
Now, from the inside, looking at it, how do you stay like motivated, or how do you stay when you can see something? You can see the tsunami coming, right? And you have ideas because they've kind of stripped you away from your creativity. You know, how do you either prepare for that, and how do you deal with that and stay motivated to I got to do it again today. I got to do it again, and you know what's coming.
Kids, man. Like, they just dope. Like, you ain't got to always understand to understand, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
I don't necessarily get them all the time, but I understand just enough to, I love you. I know that. I want to make sure you're good. I want to give you the same thing I want somebody to give my son every day. So I'm just going to keep on working with it. And they get me enough to understand that, like, yeah, he pretty much probably don't get it, but he do care. You know what I mean? And I think that's the main thing. Like, it's the heart. Like, in anything you do, like, whether it's art, whether it's entertainment, whether it's sports, whatever it is, it got to come from, you know what I'm saying, the heart. Like, and I think if you got that, the rest of it kind of works itself out. You know what I mean? I got a passion for it. You know what I mean? So it's just like when me and the fellas, you know, link up every week to do our show, like it's pretty much just, I don't know. It's hard, but I love it. You know what I mean? So it makes it so like it's kind of like a self-motivating thing. Like, I'm almost doing it on autopilot just because I love it. Like, it's just like, well, I want to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
When y'all do y'all, because I don't know technology well, and I don't know. Do y'all use StreamYard when y'all going live?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do y'all do? Y'all go in Zoom, or y'all drop the link and then get in? And like, how do y'all all get in there?
We go to StreamYard, and we actually pay for our StreamYard, and basically, it's like an invite link. And when I go in, I just send them the link. So the same link that you see people putting into the chat to bring people up on panel is the same link that we use.
Okay.
It's just we're already there when we actually go live.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. And then we pin the link to the page, and we hit live and we go. Right. It's pretty much a renegade show from there.
Okay. So what would you say the show in general is about in your mind, or when you was coming up with it? What was the idea? So
it starts off like we're not really a YouTube group. Like we're learning YouTube, but we're really a podcast. So it started from like me, Phace, and Pat, and 2 of our other boys, Jules and Chewy. And that's like the main core of like our crew, I guess, from just the past 20 years almost. At the beginning of COVID, brothers was bored. We was all, like, a lot of people was off for the first time. Like, everybody had been like grinding. So we had kind of like fell off of like regular communication. I'd see them when I came to Virginia, and if they ever visit Georgia, we would see each other, but we didn't really talk on a regular basis. So like COVID hit, we started Zooming. I learned how to work Zoom, you know, like everybody did. And then it was like, well, we ain't got no excuse now. We all for a minute, we all at home. We got more time. let's go ahead and start like just like commit to just weekly, just pulling up and just checking in on each other, seeing how each other doing. And we just started doing that, and it was like the conversations were building. We ended up we'd be on the Zoom for like 5-6 hours just talking. And we was like, Jesus, man, this is dope. And it started to dwindle down over the months, and it became just us three. And we just was the ones that was regularly meeting. And I wanted to do a podcast for years. I wanted to get into like entertainment in some form or fashion. I just didn't know exactly what my lane would be. But doing this with them, I was like, hey, man, we having these long conversations about random stuff. Like, this is a podcast right here. Like, that's really all a podcast is. It's just a conversation. And then if we put this out now, we can have like the same talk with other people and see if other people feel like we do, or see if there's anybody else that think like we think. Because, you know, I thought we had pretty weird perspectives on stuff. So I was like, let's see if anybody else has these same perspectives. And I asked them, was they down? And we here. The Podnas are here.
It was weird because I always wanted to do a podcast when I first wanted to. Matter of fact, like my other homeboy that you might hear me talk about, Twin or whatever, we would talk about it, but we just didn't know. Like at that time, podcast was so new, we just didn't know how people were doing it anyway, or whatever. But then he brought up the idea, and we put our heads together pretty much.
Now, outside of y'all, when y'all told people like what y'all was gonna be doing, did anybody else? Because like I remember hearing about podcasts years back, and like I didn't know. The first thing I did was like it was, I don't know if y'all remember Spreaker.
Spreaker?
Yeah, it was like a it still exists. I'm pretty sure where you talk into your phone and release little episodes. So I ain't know about that. That sounds hot. Yeah, it was. Dope. That's how I got into it. Because my initial podcast was with a co-host, me and a female co-host. So we were doing that. But she was the one that was like, oh, I already do one on Spreaker. So I started listening to Spreaker, and of course, listening to yourself back, you start cringing like, it's like
every week.
I don't like my voice, something like that, blah blah blah.
Oh God, man,
the word light.
Let me tell you about somebody who hates their voice.
Right. Now, ain't it funny though? You don't like your voice, but like back in the days when you was talking to the ladies, you thought your voice was.
Man, I thought I was the shit.
Not me, man. I always knew I was weird.
Oh man, I thought I was Rico Suave on the phone. You couldn't tell me I wasn't the next Barry White or somebody.
Yeah, I like boy. Every girl. I think they had a weird person fetish. That's what I thought. Whatever. Oh, you like me? Huh? Oh, that's entertaining.
So now I see the name Padawan. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so of course I don't listen. I don't know this to be fact, but just because his name is Padawan, he got to be the coolest out of the Podnas. So I'm just saying.
Oh no, Phace is the coolest. Phace is the one that gave me the name Padawan.
Okay.
Yeah, he the one that. The coolest. I ain't at first. I was he just called me Young Padawan, and then like everybody that was like, at the time we was like. He was working at a store at a flea market pretty much, and everybody there was calling me Padawan. Then I moved to Atlanta or whatever, and everybody in Atlanta started calling me Padawan. So it just stuck pretty much.
Now, how do y'all know each other? I didn't even get to that. I jump around, by the way. I jump around, so.
No, that's totally fine. You jump around like our Wi-Fi does, so it's all good. So I'll start, and then I'll kind of let Pat jump in because it's kind of like his story kind of merges into ours. So it started for me and Phace way back in seventh grade. He lived in the same neighborhood around the corner from me, and we had just moved from the exact same city to this neighborhood at the same time, but we never knew this. Like, we had been at the same school the year before, never knew each other, moved here, first day of seventh grade. He just happened to sit behind me in class, and I turned around, and he had this shirt on, and the way the print was on the shirt, it looked like one of those eye tests that you take at the doctor where you got to read the letters or whatever, and it gets smaller, but it was like the whole shirt was blurry. So me, I had already started knowing that I needed the glasses back in middle school. So I'm looking at his shirt and I'm thinking that I'm tripping like, yo, I know my eyes ain't get this bad. Like this dude close as hell. But what? So I was like, is your like, what's wrong with your shirt? What is that? And he was like, I don't know, it's just a shirt. And I don't know why, but I died laughing about that. And after that, we were just friends. Like it was, kid stuff. Like you just meet somebody and they, hey, your shirt cool. We friends now.
Yeah.
And we were both new in that area. So like we just kind of bonded over that and we've been hanging there since. And I was pretty much raised as the only child. He was the only child. So it was like everybody else in the school area, you know what I'm saying? They had brothers and sisters and stuff. We didn't. So it was like, well, shit, you the brother that I ain't never have. And that was that.
Okay. What about Pat?
Well, I came in when our ODU days, freshman year, Phace was like the first person I met at the orientation, pretty much, or whatever. We clicked since then. I don't know. I probably did something goofy. He laughed, and then we just clicked pretty much. And then after a while, then I met Tiz, and the day I met Tiz, I remember he had these jeans, these cut up jeans, and I thought it was the wildest shit in the world. I was like, that shit look cool as a bitch.
Jeans, I wish they would come back.
Wait. You mean when you say cut up, you mean
like so back in what was this 2001? Yeah, 2001, 2002. I was into like dance groups and all that. So I was doing that type of thing. And I used to take jeans and I would like bleach them and make new jeans out of them. I would cut them up and like sew patterns on them and stuff like that. And pretty much make my own clothes. And it was going. Like people liked it. It was dope. But it was only for that year. Because the styles changed very fast, and then it was just like, okay, now I look crazy as hell. But them jeans were dope, and it was like I was the only person with them, so like you could see me across campus with them.
And you retired them joints after that year?
Yeah. I kept them in the closet. I used to keep them in the closet, like like you hang a jersey in the rafters or something. Like I would just keep them just around.
I borrowed them joints one time, man. I had to like one day on one of my random alone adventures or whatever. I went out and wore the Tiz pants, and I was like, I want to see because I know it's power in these pants. Pause.
What the pause? The hell out of that.
Pause. But I was like, every time he wears, some crazy stuff happens. So I'm like, let me try this. All right, yeah, these work. Like a genie in a bottle almost.
Hey man, yeah. They were magic. They definitely did some damage back in the day. Yeah, good times.
Now, you about to say something?
I was like, yeah. And since then, we've been on random adventures. That's how it went, pretty much.
Now, initially, you talked about the five of y'all, doing it, and just kind of it evolved from just having conversations, but. What you guys do now is more structured. Right. So what made you go from like just five dudes just chopping it up to like, all right, we want to do something. We want to have segments and that type of stuff.
Got you. So basically, if you look at our very first show, it was already structured. So it kind of started as like a conversation, and over time, by the time it got to the point where like I told them I even presented the idea of like, hey guys, I want to do a podcast and I want to do this by this time. I think it was like maybe summer of 2020. And we had been it started maybe 3 months before that, like in March. And basically the first month it was all five of us. And then after a while it was like us three and Jules would pop in and out. And then it just became us three. And by the time it got to us three, that was when I told them about the podcast idea. So by that point, it was already just three of us. Then once I told them that, at first it was like a thing with me and Pat. Pat, he got the comic book coming out. I wanted to do this. So it was like, all right, he's a day younger than me, literally. So like, I was like, all right, by our birthday, You got to have your comic book at this point. I got to have a podcast set up at this point. And over time, it was like the conversations we was having, like, and Phace was like the Zooms, Phace was coming with like these would you rather questions that was like taking us on these tangents. And it was just like, it was kind of naturally building into like these portions of conversations. And then that kind of formatted into, by the time we get to around like maybe October-ish, we're talking about, hey, let's really seriously do this, y'all. Like, let's just do this. Like, and then by the end of November, we had gotten it down to like what our name was going to be, how we wanted to set it up, what types of stuff we wanted to talk about. And by the time we got to the first episode, we actually had a docket for even the first episode. So we kind of knew we wanted to have like certain topics that we touched on that week. But the segments kind of organically grew, to be honest. Like, we started the podcast, and then like I used to be a Umar dude. So like I was a supporter, found out that Pat actually knew who the hell I was talking about, because I would talk to other people and they'd be like, what the hell is Umar? So like it was like I had given $50 to this dude for this school, and then it's like I'm on a break for COVID and I'm looking at all these videos now, and I'm finding Lennon and I'm finding all these people. So I'm like, what the hell? Oh, this is who I gave my money to. So by the time we started the podcast, the Umar segment kind of built off like I was genuinely telling these dudes about Umar because I was so surprised.
Right.
And then it became like they were interested and I was still going down the rabbit hole. So as I took the journey, I just took them with me because they was my brothers. Like I would have been talking about this anyway because it was so weird to me. The good and the fuckery came out of like literally it was one day Pat just kind of said it. And because he was like, so we used to have like these group topics. We'd just be like, all right, this is my topic. And we'd go and just kind of build off of that and wherever it took us, whatever. Well, 1 week, he didn't have a topic. He was like, man, I just got a group of this shit that I want to talk about. And he said it, and that became a thing. And it was like, we had fun doing it. So it was like, let's keep it. Even Phace's list, it was like 1 week, same thing. He didn't have a broad topic. He had just a list of shit that had pissed him off that week. And it became Phace's list. And that's how we got to like his segment. So the segments kind of just, I don't know, built themselves off us. Like we liked shit and it was like, it's fun. Let's do this again next week. That was it.
And I listened to a few podcasts myself or whatever, so I kind of like peeped their format. And I always saw it was like a time where they have like a news segment or, hey, this is what's going on here, or this, that, and the third. So I was like into like modern current situations anyway. So I said, yeah, I'll be that guy. I'll be rumor report guy. This is pretty much.
He's our Angela Yee.
I like Wu-Tang.
Pata Yee.
Or Angela He. How about Angela?
Yeah,
He?
there you go. You're Angela He.
Yeah, I'll do. Yeah, he not
Phace
feeling
put
that.
it on a t-shirt.
He not feeling that one. You would say something, Phace?
Yeah, put it on a t-shirt. We can do that tonight.
Don't got to do things, man. Yeah, it's cool.
I'll be in the store tomorrow. When I'm thinking about it.
That is hilarious.
Now, so y'all all grew up in, you were saying Virginia?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Born and raised.
Okay. What was that? Oh, you weren't there? You were saying?
Nah, Phace wasn't born in Virginia. I'm just raised in Virginia.
Oh, okay.
I moved around a lot as a kid, but me and my family settled here around 94. So you might well say I'm from Virginia.
And I'm just assuming, but y'all could correct me. It'd be like a typical black experience in this country. It was that's how you guys grew up.
So each of us was like you said, kind of from a different start. So like the part of Virginia Pat grew up in is similar, but it's different. So all of Virginia is kind of Virginia. It's a general way of life, kind of like a mix between country and city. The best way I can describe it is like hot boys from back in Cash Money days meets DC Go-Go. You smash them together and you kind of got all of Virginia's vibe.
DC Go-Go.
Yeah, if you mix them two types of vibes, that's kind of like what everybody's on, but then like each part is a little different. So I'm from Central Virginia. I'm from Petersburg. And it lives up to what it is. It's a small town, very small, but it's been in the top 2 worst cities in Virginia every year for years.
Right.
Lot of poverty, a lot of drugs, a lot of, that typical type of vibe. But everybody's in it, so you growing up, you don't really realize it's bad. Like it's kind of just like, oh, all right, it's normal for your uncles to be running in at midnight, pulling pistols out the ceiling. Like, oh yeah, that's typical Saturday night. Like that's not weird. Because Alan's my homeboy around the street, his uncles do the same shit. So it was like, yeah, but it was type of that like that, and then Pat can kind of give his, and Phace can kind of give his.
Yeah, like it's how to say Virginia it's just like you said, everywhere is like pretty much the same. I think because a lot of just drug dealer stuff, my area, 757 area, we're more New York influenced, pretty much. So like, and then it's a military area, so like you pretty much got everyone around here. Because I live the 757 area is like the Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake area, like where like Missy and Pharrell and Tim. Mm-hmm. And I grew up around the time where they were actually becoming famous or whatever. So like the area, it's like their local scene as far as like entertainment or whatever is like was building up like more and more or whatever. So that's why I'm like probably in the arts the way I am now. And yeah, it's just pretty much, I grew up in Portsmouth, Virginia, which is like in that same 757 area code or whatever. And for the most part, man, it's pretty much kind of like where Tiz and Phace is from. Like it's one of the bad areas of the 757. You know what I'm saying? Like it's same crime aspect and stuff like that. But I grew up in Charlestown, and like my grandmother was like in part of the like the manager of the townhouse complex and everything. So it's kind of, and pretty much everybody in that complex almost was like related to me somehow. So I kind of was more protected from a lot of crazy stuff, but I still seen it. You know what I'm saying? So.
Like if Phace gonna say something, I never know when Pat gonna stop saying something, so I always give him a few seconds.
The next time I'll say dramatic pause like I usually do.
There we go. So I mean, I grew up in Virginia, but before that, of course, like I said, I'm not originally from here. I was born in New York, moved to Atlanta after that, and then my family ended up settling in VA in Petersburg. Then we moved to Ettrick, and I grew up in Ettrick after that. That's about it, man. My upbringing is basically like everybody else's. It's nothing too bad, nothing too good. I'm not going to dwell on anything because it doesn't it doesn't weigh that heavy. You feel me? My story is no different than the typical individual growing up in a rural or urban area. I have to say it like that. There's no confounding backstory that makes Phace. Just your past experiences molded into who you are now. So
yeah, I don't think we really know anything. Like I didn't really realize stuff was bad until I got older. So I felt like, well, if it was bad then I didn't really feel it. It wasn't that bad. So.
All right. So piggybacking off of where you guys grew up and how y'all grew up, what are some of the things that you grew up believing, but now as an adult you had a complete shift?
So I think for me, one thing is definitely like I always had like a strong, like my grandmother, my upbringing definitely instilled a lot of like, you can do it, whatever. Like you really got a lot of power, but I think the amount of power that Black people have was underestimated by me when I was a kid. Like it was like this white boogeyman that was like controlling everything, and like you can't do nothing because the man gonna hold you down and the man gonna stop you from doing whatever. And then like the older I got, the more I realized that it's really like my mentality that held me back in most situations. Like almost every situation when something was fucked up, there was no man doing nothing. It was me. It was me. I did something dumb, or I made a horrible decision, or I knew something was wrong, but I decided to do it anyway. Like it was always me. So I think one of the biggest things that changed for me from my upbringing was like, there ain't no white boogeyman. Like there is a system of oppression or whatever, but at the same time, like it's a lot of agency that we have. We just don't exercise it all the time.
I think for me, the sky start falling right when I hit college, pretty much. Like had my mom's devout Christian, pretty much believed directly from the book, and then after a while, reality hit, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is just like a book of poetry. So okay, got you.
Right.
And I'm just gonna have to figure out the universe my own little way, pretty much. And the way certain things are set up is not exactly how everything I thought it was is not as clockwork as I expected things to be growing up. In general, and yeah, just a lot of expectations, pretty much, that I thought was gonna go like clockwork in life or whatever, and then it turned out that way. So now I'm like,
you had that expectation. Oh yeah, everything's gonna be just like on the movies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
The male version of the Disney princess syndrome, as they call it. Pretty much. I just got to be a good person and don't fuck with people and this, that, and the third. And yeah, I'll be all right. No, it don't work out that way.
Hell no, it don't.
It's a lot of people that look at you like, all right, he's the nice guy, but that's also okay. I know it's been plenty of times I've been looked at like food, as we were talking about earlier or whatever. So, but I'm not stupid. I can still tell when, I give people their one moment of I'm gonna be nice this one time, and then after a while I start saying, all right, you're starting to have a pattern. You're not really calling around, see how I'm doing. You just like doing the little side talk till you get to what you want. All right, I see. Just little stuff, like a lot of me being naive when I was younger. Or whatever.
So yeah, you kind of answered my next question, which was like, what was the turning point? You mentioned Pat, you mentioned what your turning point was for you, Tiz. What was like the turning point for when you was like solid. Like me growing up, like that code of the street was like everything.
Yeah, that was it.
That was everything. But then I got to a point where you look back and you see like nobody really.
Oh, I got you.
Nobody really.
It was jail, man. I got locked up for 30 days. Yeah, little first offender type thing, whatever. But for a lot of people, like, they had all these horror stories about jail, but for me, it wasn't like no horror story. Like, it was in the area I grew up in, so I knew people in there. It was a lot of my family in there, so it was kind of like, it was the boredom and the lack of freedom, and it just taught me like, past trying to be hard or past trying to like live up to this this persona I done built for myself. Like, I love my freedom too much. Like, I like being able to like get up and go, and especially at that time in my life, like I was maybe 18, 19. I was not 19, and I had just got out of jail, and I realized, like, all right, something got to change. Like, I got to do something different. And I got out of jail. I was homeless for a little quick minute. And then I finally just broke down and was like, let me stop being stubborn. And I called my mother and was like, hey, I hadn't talked to my mom in like a good year and a half. Like, she had talked to me like spotty or whatever. But once she had moved down to the 757 area where Pat and Phace was at school at. And I stayed up in Virginia State. It got kicked out of Virginia State, but was still just kind of hanging around campus because I knew everybody. Like, I had built up a little, clientele of sorts, and was like, stuff was still kind of rolling for me a little bit. So, but after that, man, like I literally I was homeless for a minute. I stayed on the park bench in Poplar Lawn Park in downtown Petersburg. And I remember like after like maybe almost a month, I just called my mom and was like, hey, Mom, can I come home? Like, this ain't working. And I got to do something different. And I think that was the biggest turning point, because from there, it was like, I started to really like be honest with myself. Like, up until then, I had kind of blamed a lot of my circumstances on somebody else for some reason. Like, I blamed my decisions on my mother or my upbringing or my lack of a father, or because I had to see this is why I'm like this, or because this person did this, then that made me do that. Like, and then I started to like really get honest with myself. Like, nah, the common denominator and all this shit is you. Like, it ain't no spooky man behind the curtain. Like, sadly, it's you. Like, you are fucking your life up. And it was at that point, like, I still was fucking up a lot. Because at this point, this was when I had moved down to 757, and I kind of started going to ODU. And that was when I linked up with Pat and Phace Heavy, and like, we were practically like always together at that point. But I was still fucking up. Like, out of the three of us, I was still the one that was like, I was in school in name only. Like, I was never in class. Like, I was at the student center or getting drunk all day or going around fighting people for no reason. So I was still like, I had stopped some of the stuff, but I was still doing stupid stuff that wasn't progressing anywhere. So, but I think that one moment probably, like, if I hadn't have shifted and said, all right, let me go, like, being around Phace and Pat and like other people who were like kind of like trying to do the right thing in life, like, it got me out of that system of like other people who were thinking negative just like me all the time, and just want, like, even though they kind of tolerated and was like, okay, we'll roll with your tears, they were still always kind of like that voice of reason, like, yeah, but why are we doing this again? Like, what exactly is the purpose? Like, so I think that really kind of woke me up to realize, like, all right, it's me. I got to stop being the one that's fucking up. And that kind of set me on that chain of events that, like, took me to a path of, like, how I got to where I am now. Yeah.
So would you say, like, being around those guys specifically, you know, we always talk about surrounding yourself with people, and those people that you surround yourself with are kind of the direction you're going to go in. So would you attribute it a lot to what they were doing, and how resistant were you to that? Like, because, you know, your lens is what your lens is. And at some point when you were a street cat, you know, you look at certain things as kind of like corny or, you know, whatever. And you get into a college atmosphere. So first of all, like, what was your college? What did you expect going to college versus what actually happened? Your reality. But also,
that's part of my shit.
Yeah, this is for both of y'all. But also too, like, when you looking at guys who, like I said, street guy, you looking, you like, man, this, you know, this is corny. This ain't me. Like, what was that like, that transition? Because at some point, this is me. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is cool. Things you didn't think was cool is actually cool. You know, when you go somewhere, or like, as an example, like, I don't know, maybe like the wife, or if you got a girlfriend or whatever, they want you to watch what's the channel? It's like a channel that's notorious for, like,
Lifetime.
Yeah. And you sit down and you like, you got your lips twisted, like, all right, let me just watch this bullshit. And then you start to loosen up, and you're like, and then
Man,
before
this ain't
you
so
know,
bad. It's all right.
yeah. So you go through that little transition, like, you know, and these guys, you, like I said, you coming from a scope where you, like you said, you the one that's fucking up, and you watching your boys progressing. Where did it hit you? Like, yo, these dudes, was it like they leaving me behind, or what was that?
So I say I went through like a couple of different college phases because I went to a couple of different schools. So I say like the weird part about me is like I grew up out of the three of us. Like my upbringing was probably the most heavily directly influenced by the streets. Like I think we all grew up in street environments and our neighborhoods were all pretty equally rough. But as far as like the most direct hands-on, like all of my uncles was in prison growing up for the same shit. Like at 4, 5 years old, the norm for me would be that we sleeping over my cousin's house and uncles rushing in at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, going up in the ceiling, pulling out the choppers and shit. Like so this was like normal shit. Like I saw a family member like die as a child. You know what I'm saying? So like stuff was like normal to me, but I didn't get into the streets so hard. Like I started selling drugs when I got to college. I started gang banging hardcore. Like my whole family was in a gang. I was affiliated, but I started like actually like banging when I was in college. So like for me, my initial entry into college was like, I thought it was gonna be like all like different world, like everything was just gonna be sweet, shit was gonna be smooth. And then I got there and I realized, oh, my grant money run out. Now I'm having to take a student loan, but the student loan in my mom's name. So she taking my refund checks because she heard that home too. So like now I'm broke on campus and I ain't expect to be broke. Like I ain't expect all of this to be like, I'm out here. So I was like, well, I could have been at home and just, you know, been working or something, like been out here. So now I'm at the point where like shit piling up. I'm on a college campus. I'm looking at all these people who got like their mom, their dad sending them bread. And you know, people who know Hampton, it's a bougie campus at times. So like it's people with they got on the new J's, they got on at the time, you know, Jabot jeans and what was it, Bathing Apes and all this stuff. And I'm sitting here walking around in the same clothes that I had wore the previous year in high school. And I'm like, nah, this ain't gonna be it. So me and a couple of my friends, we was like, oh shit, well, right around the corner is we can go. So let's do this. So that's became what I never went to class. Like I think I was in class at HU, like maybe I went to summer school and did that. But was on academic probation by the end of the first semester and second semester. I pretty much had failed out and they was like, all right, you come to summer school, you pass these 2 classes, we're gonna let you rock. Then I came to summer school and acted a fucking donkey and got kicked out. So it was like, and then I went to Virginia State and because of the people that my family, like in Petersburg, like my family's like well connected. So like people at the college knew my grandmother and my mother, and they was like, all right, we got you, easy transfer, you good. But I went there and now I was doing even more this because now I'm completely in it. And this is just it. And now I'm back home where access to everything is easier. Like I'm really not having to even work that hard. Now it's just like, and now like I'm getting involved with more people that's definitely in that same small, like this all is gonna be anyway mindset. So I'm getting that reinforced daily. So by the time like it was a weird shift. Like I remember this conversation I had with Phace. Like he saw the shift. Like it was like one day he visited me at HU, I was one way. And then by the time like me and my homeboy, we call him Jiggly, we went to visit ODU and we ended up getting stuck down there for a week because we got to beefing with the dude that was our ride. It was a long story, but over that week, us being stuck there, like Phace was like, yo, you different now, man. Like you still my brother, but something different. Like, and I had just like by that point, I'm cold in. Like it's literally just like I was. It is whatever it is, whenever it is, and I'm down with everything. Like I'm with all of the shits. And then jail happened, being homeless happened, and then I think that humbling sent me through my next phase, which was like, all right, I done become this person at this point. Like at this point, it's like I'd have been building up to it all my life. And now for 3 straight years, I have literally been this persona of myself. And I ain't even know how to turn it off. So now it's like I'm in this weird phase. I'm watching like Pat and Phace go to class and like they working on degrees and they're doing the shit that I initially thought I wanted to do, but I'm not. But I'm sitting here, I'm getting yet my 3rd chance at it. I done finagled my way into my 3rd school, and then I'm fucking this up again because I'm never in class. I'm at the students and all day drunk, hollering at girls, chilling out, picking fights, looking for the next party. So it was like that next phase, that turning point there was when Phace graduated, when he walked. Like I was at his graduation and I realized like me and him had been living together practically the whole time. Now my brother, he going back home with a degree. I'm sitting here, still here with where I was when we graduated high school. And you know what I mean? I started looking at like everybody started leaving. It was like one day on campus, it was like, I'm sitting on campus. He may have been gone like 2 days, but he was coming back to like get the rest of his stuff and stay like that last week or whatever there. And in them 2 days, I realized like, yo, this ain't it. This can't be it. I got to do something. I got to get a job. I got to do something. But this shit here ain't it. And I think that was the turning point, just realizing like, yo, like I started with this dude. Like I think Phace, his transition was the biggest catalyst for it. Cause like I started with this dude. We started from the same spot, same opportunities, similar upbringing, all of that. But I'm watching him go the direction that we both said we wanted to go, and I'm still here. Like he's done it, and I'm still back here where we started. So I was like, yeah, this ain't it. I packed up my stuff. He came back and he was like, yeah, we gonna still stay together. We gonna go up to Richmond. And I was like, yeah, nah, bro. I'm about to go kick it with my mom real quick. I'm gonna give me a job and I'm gonna just live in Hampton real quick and just figure some shit out. Like I gotta do some shit real quick. And I literally that day, like he was like, nah, bro, like we've been together, like, we still, I was like, nah, I gotta just do this one of them, I just gotta do it. I packed up my little trinkets that I had and went to stay with my mother. Me and my homeboy Foose, one of my homeboys that was in the same kind of predicament like me and him, was like the 2 fuck ups basically at the moment. And we moved to Hampton. I got a job at the Waffle House. And that was like it. Like when I started working a legit job, and I ended up realizing like the hustle that I had in the street, like I could literally be successful at anything if I just put that same hustle. And I started I actually was like making what was at the time pretty decent money off of just, I would cook one shift and then the next shift I would serve. And then by the time I got off, it was still early enough. I can go party with Pat and them. And by this time we had picked up my other homeboy Jules, and he was part of the clique. So it was like, I was building a new clique at ODU. So I still had a piece of my old life, but it was like, I could see the fruits of my labor in this new path, like working. Then I met my wife there. And once we got together, like, that was the final, like, everything been the same since then. Cause she was like, yeah, I love you, but I ain't coming to pick you up after you done ran from the police all night. I ain't about to be having people knocking at the door. You and your homeboys around the crib loading up weapons and walking around with random shit. Like, I can't do this. This ain't what I'm used to. So this triggering for me. Like, I love you, and we can either be together or you could do that, and I'm cool either way, but I can't do it. And I was like, yeah, I don't really need to do this no more then. Right. And Pat, I tell you, from there, I've been a straight up square. Like, this been it. Like,
you can't just be. It's no way for him to be straight up square. But
well, you know what I mean. Like, it's literally been no illegal activity, no. Like, I literally haven't been in a fight since I told her, all right, I'm gonna leave it alone. Like, I haven't done anything. Like, the most I could say I have is like a traffic ticket. Like, it's been straight and narrow. Let's get this. And I feel like it was the best decision I made, because all of the shit that I had a dream. Like, I wanted a wife, a kid. I wanted a 2-car garage. I wanted a house that was in a certain type of neighborhood, and now I have all of the things that I dreamt of when I was a kid, all off of the right shit. So like, yeah. I know I'd be long-winded as hell in these answers.
Nah, that's good. Yeah. That's good, man. I think part of it is when you say things out loud, you know what I'm saying?
Kind of you hear it yourself.
Yeah. So
sometimes I gotta tell the truth to myself, man.
That's it.
Indeed.
What was the question? Because I don't forget.
Like, what was the turning point? Like,
yeah, you know well, because like, you had already, you kind of answered it. So I wanted him to expound on like, because I actually that was my next question, and then you rolled your answer into my next question before I could even ask it.
Segue king. Right.
Yeah, that's that eye that you got there. You saw, you just saw right into the next thing. But part of it was the college experience was what you expected, and then what the reality of it was.
Absolutely. Like
it was definitely like I was thinking different world, just like he said, and then I was like, oh, different world with bills.
They got a fee for every damn thing.
Every damn thing. And you got a job, but it's not the job that can pay for all those fees.
Mm-hmm. Man, it's funny. I actually went to HU because of different world. Like, because I was like, oh, I want to go to the school that got the pit. I went to school just so I could actually see the real pit and like, I'm here. And it was nothing like that. The parties was like that though, like the party life and all of that. I definitely indulged in that part of college, but like, I wish I hadn't waited until I was like older to actually take it serious. Like,
yeah, you got to pay for a lunch program. You got to pay for the gym. You got
to, man, everything you do.
Room and board.
You got to pay for a parking decal. Like, they look so happy in a different world. They didn't talk about that at all.
Yeah, that's because Cliff and Claire was they parents.
Doctor and lawyer.
My mom was no Claire. She she had the heart, but the paycheck was not there.
Yeah.
Man,
Mom ain't have it like that.
When we walked in, Mom, because I was like her first child that actually got into college or whatever, and because it was just an experience for both of us. And she'd been to college and everything, but she graduated like in the 80s or whatever, pretty much. So now college, and I'm pretty sure it's the same way now. Each year in college, there's some new fee. There's new fee, higher tuition, more expensive books.
Yep.
Each year. And that's what really messed me up with college or whatever. And especially then you going into college, what really messed me up is, like I said, I think I got into life thinking that it's supposed to go like this, like clockwork or whatever. And I was like, all right, get this paper to say I'm smart, find someone, blah, blah, blah. But, life don't go like clockwork like that.
Life throw you them curveballs.
And then you start questioning, all right, so is that really what you want? What do you want out of this?
That was the key. Yep. I think that's the key in all the turning points. And like, it's like the moment when you finally just take stock of like, all right, I've been doing all of these motions, but what is it that I really want? Let me focus all of my energy toward what I actually want, as opposed to like just spinning my wheels in all these different directions, but not going nowhere. Like,
me is like I need to figure out, hey, I need to know what I want instead of what is expected of me.
Right.
That was what that was. Like,
that's a whole word right there, bro.
I had to realize that I'm not going to be motivated with somebody else's goals. I got to figure out my own freaking goal or whatever. And then everything in the universe will work around it pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's why I made the decisions that I made when I got to college, because I was like almost like going against all of the expectations that had been piled on me up until then. Like, because I was supposed to be the little golden child, or, oh, you the one, you he been gifted all his life. He gonna do this and do that, and he gonna be a cardiologist. And I think when I got to college and I finally got away from all that, like I think I was like, man, I'm trying to do everything but that shit.
Yeah.
Fuck, forget what y'all was trying to make me be. I'll figure this out. But for right now, I don't want to do none of that. I'm tired of living in that box.
Yeah, for right now, let me see what they're doing at this party.
I was supposed to be a pastor, a lawyer.
Pastor Padawan. That would have been hilarious.
Wouldn't it, though? Wouldn't it? We're going to make it a skit one day. Let's see what happens.
The battle rapping bishop.
Now, hold on. We got to touch on this a little bit. I got questions, but, every now and then a little something pops up. And, we just got to dig in a little deeper on that. So, you said you were expected to be a pastor.
Because my mom is like devout Christian, but I kind of ended that as soon as I saw that. I was like, And as soon as it was said, I was like, because I used to joke around like I was one or whatever. They took that and went with it or whatever. So I was like,
So there's potentially video of you like doing some kind of sermon or something like that. Like
no, it's not video because this was like in the early 90s and 80s, thank God. So we don't got footage of that. That's me. That's me as a child.
I think that would be I don't know. A child. I think somebody got some footage out there that we gotta.
And it would be embarrassing because my voice wasn't deep.
Hey, little bro, little sis. I got a little fee for you if you slide Tears that tape on the low.
Bro, yeah. I know you got dirt because you text me dirt all the time. Look what I found up here. And then it's my little happy self with no dreads.
You know it's gonna be
with
him.
Action figures.
You know it's gonna be him that find it. He gonna go back in the archives. Little bro, hold me down.
Hey, we all got something out there that somebody shine a light on it.
Yo, I know somebody got a VHS somewhere of me, like 3-4 years old, sitting there playing the drums on Christmas morning with some pajamas that's way too small. I already know.
Oh shit! You took it back to the little red shorts back in the day. Little red shorts with the little white little.
Bruh, walking around looking like Pooh Bear.
Yeah. There's a picture of me. It's a young kid, probably 5 years old, with the little shorts on a Pontiac in Portsmouth somewhere in the 80s.
I'm telling you, bro, them 80s pictures, man.
Yeah,
boy,
it looked dope though. It looks dope.
If I wasn't such a strong person and had such a lack of ego, boy, them 80s pictures would be detrimental.
Yeah, I got
they rough.
Yeah, maybe somewhere some with some high socks with the 3 stripes on them. At the top.
Oh my God, them damn roller skating socks. Hell yeah. And I don't know what the hell my mama used to be dressing me in, like them little Daisy Duke shit. Like, wow, why you got me in the little ass shorts? Why did you think that was cute?
Everybody with them little shorts,
hard bottom stride right shoes. Yeah. Like, man, boy. Yeah, man, it was some wild fashion back then, boy.
But my mom always had.
I'm glad I eventually got to pick my own outfits, boy. My mom used to be doing me dirty, boy.
Is it a proper segue to go from Tiz and Daisy Dukes to talking about podcasting?
Sure, yeah. Why not? I like.
Speaking of Daisy Dukes,
I like it.
A segue that gives you a laugh is a great one.
Oh, they gonna cut that up.
I think I just found, when I release them, I do the little 30-second blurb when I put it on my Instagram.
Oh yeah, you got that. Gotta be part of it.
I think I might have found that.
the preview snippets that gotta be. I think
I found my 30 seconds. That is
classic.
Hold on, let me check and see what. I got the time right there.
Classic.
But
Phace put that on a t-shirt. I wish Phace was here.
If he could get like a little picture of you and put because you could do that with the cricket. You could get the little outline and put you with the Daisy Dukes. I don't, what?
That is hilarious.
We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that to Tiz. Tiz out here like promoting the podcast,
hey, man,
networking.
Good, man. My wife like when I show a little thigh, man. It's all good, man.
The thighs ain't the part. It's the part with the split.
I'm telling you, man. My wife like the man cleavage on me, so I'm.
I knew you was gonna say it. I knew it.
I was gonna say.
I'm telling you, man. We're gonna get that to be a thing in the popular lexicon of America.
Long as you ain't clutching your palms and squeezing together, trying to really push it up, you good.
Oh no. Only for the wife. Only for the wife.
You shouldn't do that.
I rock the Daisy Dukes for her now.
Okay. That kind of clear. You talk about the split down the berries. All right, we going.
The moment the light bulb went off.
When you started doing podcasts, did everybody know what a podcast was? Now, when you guys, when y'all started to talk to people about it, like people, what was the response to that? And and also to like, what are they thinking about it? What you doing now? What kind of feedback you getting from your close people?
For me personally, it's been like overwhelmingly positive. I think the beauty of when we started is we started during this pandemic where a lot of people have gotten into podcasts for the first time and they listen to them. So like, had we started maybe like 3-4 years ago, it would have been a little weirder because not as many people were familiar with what a podcast is. But now so many people know about like Joe Budden or Joe Rogan or or even Drink Champs, those type of things. Like people are kind of familiar with like when you say, podcast, they kind of have an understanding of what it is. So it makes it less like unfamiliar for them. So, but I think the people in my family, like my friends and stuff that know about it, like they've been super supportive. Like most of them subscribe or on one format or another, whether it be on Apple or YouTube or whatever. And most of them are like really like avid listeners. Like I think maybe our first 10 to 15 subs that were like really always commenting to this day, still be in the chats and all that, like they are like friends and family members. So I think that's been the coolest part is like when you start on something that's kind of like a dream of yours, like it could be a little scary, especially if you get a bunch of detractors. I think the coolest part has been like, it's been nothing but like, keep going. Like, even with my wife, like, when I first I broached it to her a year at the beginning of 2020 on like January 2nd. We sat down and like, she always like doing these little activities and stuff. It's like, she'll find something and be like, let's do this together. And it was basically like this activity where you map out like your year plan, your 5-year, your 10-year goal. And at the top of that was podcasting and music production. I have to have this done. And she was like, what? So you think about quitting your job? And I was like, well, eventually, but I do want to do this. Like, I'm dead serious about this. So like, the cool part about it was like, when I finally, we started launching and we had our first meeting about it. And she was like, oh, you serious? So to see her like go from like kind of scared of what that could look like to now probably being the number one supporter, like most of the equipment that I got, she was the one that was like purchasing it for me as like gifts and stuff. Like, and like to this day, like my first piece of Podnas merch, she bought it. You know what I mean? Like, so like, yeah, man, I think on my end, at least, it's been nothing but people like supporting and championing it.
Same here. Like I always wanted to do something in entertainment or whatever. So like a lot of people that know me are like promoters or stuff like that, or like do some type of local entertainment or whatever. So anything like that, they're like, yeah, let's do it. So the funny thing about it is I always thought about doing a podcast. I just never knew how to do the podcast. It's pretty much like how they set it up, the way, what technology they use or whatever. I always thought it was like studio stuff, but now the way technology is, it's like do it right on the phone. 'Cause I'm on the phone right now, actually, pretty much. So once we actually started and we had like a format or whatever, and then it pretty much all of it is shining our actual attributes and Phace, he's always been the fashion dude in the group. He always wanted to do something in fashion. So he already had like merch working. So as soon as we started, he started the merch, working on the logo and stuff like that. I put in my little 2 cents or whatever. They helped, and we just put things together. I think him and my brother, he makes websites for a living. So I got him connected with my brother, and they went there further, put like the actual like JPEG for it and everything for the symbol and for the Podnas and everything, and just went from there. And then all my family just went along with it. My cousin, they like main supporters or whatever. My brother, he listens to it faithfully every single day. Like I got him actually listening to Joe Budden, and then we started doing the podcast, and he's like in between Joe Budden and me. And I think by me I mean us pretty much. So
That's dope.
He even texts me sometimes and be like, "Yo, when y'all were talking about this, I was arguing in my head, and I wanted to say this." Pretty much, and then we'll go back to it. And same thing, my best friend Twin. So it pretty much major support or whatever. Like when I got like the all red Podnas shirt or whatever, I walk around and my mom saw me with it or whatever. She was like, "I want to know what's going on," but I don't want her looking at that because we be talking about some stuff.
Yeah,
and I don't need her, stressing over it.
So that's the crazy part. Like me and Phace mom actually. They both are subs and they watch. And my mom be in the chat sometime and everything. So she be on like the podcast. Like we get a little wild sometimes, but for the most part, that's kind of tame. Yeah. So I ain't really tripping on that. But when she be on the lives, I be like, oh man.
Yeah, see now
you be in there. You be listen to say that. Oh man!
Now I know that I gotta. I'm gonna be real wild. I'm gonna start pulling back now. Now I know mom's in there.
No, that's the funny part though. Like my mom, like that's the cool part. Like my mom is super dope. Like our house was like growing up cool. When I was a teenager. Like our house was like the safe house for all the kids. That was like. She'd rather you come there and do some bullshit than go out and get yourself in trouble or get locked up or somebody spike your drink or something like.
Right.
So like my house was kind of like the kicking spot. Like when somebody would get kicked out of their house because their parents tripping, like my mama let them come kick it on the couch for a couple of days. Like, you know what I mean? When Phace's mom wouldn't let him go to the party or something, he'd be like, well, I'm gonna spend the night at Tia's house. And you know what I'm saying? My mom be like, y'all go ahead, go. You know what I mean? Like, so she always been like kind of understanding of like, she's been weird. Like she was super strict, but like as I got older, I think she started to realize that like she had done a decent job with me. So like I won't go straight, but so far.
Right.
So she been always real good about like as I started to kind of go through them growing pains and started to wild out a little bit to like kind of still understand and love me through it. Like, you still my baby. It's okay.
Oh yeah.
So she one of those types. So like it's kind of dope. Like I said, like when I got tired of being homeless after I got out of jail, like that was the first person I called, and she ain't asked me questions. She never like everything she knows about my past. Like because I could like we completely hid it from her. Like I she didn't know nothing. Everything she knows because I volunteered it. Because like she ain't asked no questions. She'll never be like, well, did you do? All she care about is like, are you okay?
Right.
Are you straight? Like, do you need food? Is everything like she one of them moms? So like, she literally be like, I love it. I come home on Sundays and that's my favorite thing. I sit there and I laugh. So she dope on that. But,
yeah.
My mom's strict, and she always been strict. So, like she's like I said, devout. So I don't even want to. Over the years, she's been kind of chill about it or whatever. But I'm like, I don't even want you asking no questions. None of that, all the stuff, because she's going to ask questions. I don't want to explain nothing.
What is this?
Well, you know, in Leviticus.
we might
They gonna
be
sit you down and make you listen to that pastor you was putting us on.
Oh
And
man,
now,
Gino. Oh God.
when you're out here acting like that.
Yeah, now that I'm not even going there with that guy, but
that guy's hilarious. But
I think you need to change your name to St. Patrick instead of the Padawan. St. Patrick. How about that?
Yo!
Did you tell your mom?
Rodney good with him, yo.
Tell your moms, like, in the podcast, I'm St. Patrick, you know what I'm saying? So maybe no, but then again, she might tune in if she say.
And every year on your birthday, we do a show called the St. Patrick's Day.
There you go.
We already got a homie with a St. Patrick's Day. We already got a homie with a birthday on St. Patrick's Day, though.
This is true.
It's true.
We just have
but
two
St. Pat that would be a great little metaphor for something.
That's hard.
Somewhere I will use it, form of fashion.
There you go, man. Just podcasters connecting and swapping.
That was good right there.
St. Pat. St. Patrick and Padawanism.
Y'all ever what about somebody reaching out saying like y'all shouldn't have did that, or you know what I'm saying?
All the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah?
That was the Nas review, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Nas review has gotten comments saying trash review, like that was horrible. Oh, I knew as soon as Phace said Nas sucked. Like, when we used to do our Uma videos all the time. But to be honest, unless somebody says that we've offended them, we don't care. Like, we not cold-hearted. Like, we gonna say what we want to say, but we also the type of people that believe like we smart enough to say whatever we need to say without trying to be offensive. So unless somebody said that, we've never retracted nothing. We said we stand on it, and then we just had a conversation from there. And usually the weird part is some of our current subs, they started as like commenters that just vehemently disagree with something we said. And through our build with them in the comments, they were like, well, it's all good. Thank you for having a conversation with me. So like,
right.
Yeah, we ain't never had nothing crazy yet, but we also aren't like out here saying shit for shock value. Like if we say something, usually we genuinely feel that way. And we thought about it before we said it. So like usually 9 times out of 10, like we can stand on whatever it is. Like, so yeah.
The funny thing about it, I actually said, hey, I like Nas' album. These were little
but
things
they
that I
not
didn't like.
None of the positive stuff.
But they ain't hear all the positive.
Oh no,
I said it right there in the middle. I already knew what it was. I knew. I know Tiz and Phace. Tiz may find like maybe 1 or 2 songs about it, but Phace, that's not his vibe.
Yeah, I knew as soon as we did it. I knew with Phace. That's why as soon as he started, I was like, "Oh no, we go with this one."
Listen, y'all know. Even to today, people still arguing over Biggie and Tupac. So there's certain artists, you say anything about Beyonce, you know what I'm saying? You say certain people, you say anything. Nas is like
overboard stands.
Yeah, Nas is,
people forget art is subjective.
Yeah,
like Jay-Z's my favorite rapper,
right.
But to anybody who he's not, I get it. I understand. If you don't like his music, I get it. That art didn't speak to you that way. It's paintings I see that are, to me, they're dog shit.
Right.
To other people, they are $1 million auction dog. Like people are like, oh my God, it speaks to my soul. It has this. I don't see that. So I think people forget like art, like opinions are just that. They're how you feel based on your perspective. It's no right or wrong to that. We can disagree. We can both share our opinions and even learn from each other. But that don't mean that I got to come around to your way of thinking or vice versa. We can leave a conversation, both still feeling the same way we felt. Just having a better understanding, at least, of the alternate perspective. And I think people forget that. Like, but the dope part about it is I think most people that I've come into contact with haven't been as bad as I thought they would be. Like, I see the horror stories. Like, I see them. But our experience has been, for the most part, like the worst experience we've had was with the boogeyman D. Durrell. And he ended up being not too bad to us. Like, he ain't treat me wrong. Like, he acted like him. I stood my ground on what I stood. He stood his. And at the end of it, we disagreed, but we ain't had no problem since. Like, I didn't end up getting trolled or like.
Right.
So I think a lot of it is how we approach people too. Like, our intent is genuinely to just have conversation. We want people to disagree. Our intent is to genuinely learn and be good people. Like, we're not out here trying to be horrible
assholes,
people, so we don't get a lot of horrible results. Like, our intent is right. So the impact usually ends up shuffling out all right with us.
And that's why I don't ever fear us saying anything or whatever, because usually we're gonna have something to back it up or whatever, and it's not one of those situations where, like, maybe 5 years from now we'll listen to it and I'll be like, yeah, you said this or whatever, you know, like they try to Kevin Hart me or something like that. I was like, yeah. And even if I don't agree with it 5 years from now, I'll still explain to you, like, hey, at this time, I felt like this. I was going through this. And if you went through this and felt like this, 9 times out of 10, you probably feel like that. Go from there.
I mean, that's why it's important to meet people where they are. And also, too, if you can, you know, have the conversation with somebody and people are open to listening and having that conversation, and they really are open to a civil discourse.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. You can get somewhere, you know, the yelling and the screaming and all that stuff, you know, usually, nobody's really hearing each other. So if you can sit down and somebody actually listen to your points and not like, right, I'm waiting for Tiz to finish, so I'm waiting for Pat to finish. Because I got this to say. Right.
Actively listening.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to what you have to say. And for me, like the type of person I am, even if in that moment it doesn't resonate with me, I usually do a lot of reflection later on. So when I get in the car by myself and whatever, I usually recall the conversation, and then, you know, I'm you know, open enough and honest enough to come back to you and say, hey man, you remember we was talking about this and that? You know, I didn't really see it then. I saw it, you know, or sometimes, you know, you double down. But the idea though is to be able to go back or at least listen to somebody, actively listen to somebody, and, you know, and don't just, because like you said, things are subjective. Art, you don't, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Or that's the, you know, when you say those things, the other person, I know me, I'm not listening to you anymore. Right. You know what I'm saying? If you just say something like that after I said something to you, then, you know, the conversation is over. Actively it's over. We may be going back and forth, and I may, yes, you to death, but I checked out.
Now that you're not even listening to me.
I checked out.
Stuck in your way,
I checked out.
That's the same way.
I think that's. Oh, go ahead, Pat. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I would say I'm the same way. And then you know what? If you're a person and you're yelling and you get to a certain decibel with me, I black out. I'm not listening to you no more. That's my PTSD. I'm just not listening to you no more. I'm gonna wait till you calm down. I'm gonna just go away. Because
I can only yell with certain people. Like I can yell with my brothers because they get it. Like but like for me, like in my experience, I think it might be PTSD or something. But like a lot of people online, they be like, "Hey, Tiz, you always coming with that positivity," but they don't understand. Like it ain't gonna go but one way for me, and I don't know. And in my mentality, I assume that everybody else is on the same wavelength. Like that's only gonna go one way for them. So like, I ain't out here trying to overno disagreement because we just see something differently. Not you done something to me or I've done something to you. We just disagree. Yeah. Why do I need to get out of my character to take it there to a place where I know what I'm going to do and I assume that you will do what I'm going to do, and now we both putting ourselves in a position to hurt each other or be away from our families over a disagreement because we disagree about a song or a topic or a piece of politics? Like, it ain't that deep to me. Like, it ain't that deep. Like, I've been in situations where it was that deep, and there's nothing in my current lifestyle that is that deep. Like my life is just set up in a different way now, and I ain't going backwards for nobody. So like, but I think that's been the beautiful part because we come from such a just genuine place of like, we ain't out here trying to do nothing but just have conversations, build community, learn.
Yeah, and I always been like the peacekeeper anyway, because like growing up in Portsmouth, I've seen you know, I've seen some crazy stuff. It's a lot of things that was like the neighborhood I grew up was like I said, mostly family or whatever, but it was Portsmouth is hood and
Portsmouth is
street.
Portsmouth.
So,
Portsmouth is Portsmouth.
I'm going to see some stuff eventually, and just living out there and hear about stuff, and then hear about relatives or whatever. Like I have a whole side of my mom's side of my family is mostly women. My dad's side of the family is mostly dudes, and have uncles that go in and out of jail. I have cousins that I probably will never meet on that side of the family, and then if I'm hanging around people, I'll be like, I don't want to see you go through stuff that I've seen people go through stuff. So I'm going to try to be the one that like, I'm going to be the getaway driver. I'm going to be the peacekeeper. I'm going to make sure my people get home safe. That's just me.
No, that's a big fact. And just to loop back around to the initial question, I think like a big thing for us, like we say it on a lot of our pods, we stand on integrity and accountability. Like stand on, like if you can't stand on it, don't do it. And if you do something that's like where you harm somebody, you wrong them, just be accountable for it, you know, make amends and do it right. Like it ain't, we ain't the type. I think that's also a big part of like what's going to keep us out of the cancellation area, or where people, we don't really get people telling us, oh, we need you to retract that statement, or because a lot of people realize that like, first of all, the intent is right, but we're also willing, like if we say something and somebody is like genuinely offended, like that ain't our intent. So we can state it in a different way, or we can, you know, pull a piece of content like, hey, well, we ain't got to put that out there like that. We haven't had it happen, but we ain't like the double down on some bullshit type people. Like if we wrong, we just wrong. You right, my bad. How do we make this right? Like we ain't got to stand on we ain't gonna stand on no fuck shit. You know?
Right.
We'll probably retract it before it even get big. So
yeah, a lot of times, like I said on the you know, earlier in the interview, we've had episodes where like I know the intent, but I also know how the perception of somebody else hearing it back. And I'll be editing and be like, okay, the wording, that's not gonna come across the exact way that I intended it. So I've even went back in before and like literally did a quick voiceover or something and just made it sound like worded it the way that I know that actually express what I'm intending to say. You know what I mean? Or cut it out completely. And to this day, unless you're a person that's like get the unedited episodes on like the membership, nobody, like it's not something that will be out there for everybody to know. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I won't delete it completely because I feel like I did say it. So there's some truth in what I said there to me. So I'm not going to just delete it. And it might be a conversation where, hey, somebody want to have that conversation. I'm open to that because I might learn something. So, but yeah, luckily we've avoided it so far. But we got people that say they don't like what we say all the time.
Right. And
I've been hearing that all my life.
Yeah, pretty much. You know,
and I know it's like difficult. Well, you guys could tell me as far as because you got 3 different personalities. And I found one of the challenges for me when I was trying to, we were trying to do a podcast with 4 of us, was you know, you're not scripted, but
right,
it's an outline.
Yeah.
As the episode goes along, you know, it doesn't go where you thought it was going to go, or it took a turn. Like, how do you guys do, especially if you're going whether live or pre-recorded? Like, because like for you, like you would be the one with the outline. Tiz, you're the one that'll be like, okay, let's move on to the next segment, or you try to segue, right. You trying to find a spot. Like, how does that happen?
That's the thing, though. It's not so much me. Like on the live shows, I got the docket just because I'm the one that's like hosting the StreamYard. So it's easier for me to see both and kind of be the producer of the show. Like on that show, really it's more like I'm a co-host to Pat and Phace, really. Like my main job on that show is to like try to like work everything. So I'm more in production mode on the live. But I think even on the live show, like if something goes left or a video play and it's like, man, what the fuck was that? We roll with it. Like we just kind of roll with it. And usually one of us says something instinctively that kind of make some light of it real quick, and we kind of brush it to the side and keep on pushing. Like, we just roll through it. Like, I think
that's why we made that face disclaimer. I know that's why I made it.
Yeah,
I think we don't take ourselves so seriously because we realize, like, at the end of the day, like, we're recording on StreamYard. We have one dude that's always in and out with Wi-Fi. We have another dude that plays live videos, and sometimes the video just refuses to play. You got like technical, like, I think at this point people just know that we're just doing our best. So we don't really take it too seriously. That's on the live end. We kind of just vibe, and we can kind of fit, like, the other two will kind of, like, if I play something or I say something, the other two will kind of be like, hell, what you talking about there? Let's go this way with it. And it's just a kind of natural vibe we got on that. But on the pre-recorded stuff, like, literally this past episode, we had a whole maybe 40-minute segment of the show that before I even got to editing, Phace just called me, was like, hey, or text me, was just like, hey, bro, just take that part out. Nothing was said crazy. Nothing was wrong. But I guess just in his mind, when he brought the topic up, the conversation didn't flow the way he envisioned it. So he ain't feel right about it. So it got cut. So, like, I think it's more everything is based off a vibe with us. It's just like, if it feel okay, then we good. If it don't feel right, then we just trim it. And it's okay. And we good with that. But we haven't trimmed much. Unless it just got too raunchy to the point we were scared that, like, we were going to get flagged.
Right.
Like some of the conversations that, like, Pat has put out, like, when we be talking about, like, kind of sexual stuff or stuff like that, like, or making certain type of jokes, like, it's probably like maybe 2 or 3 jokes in there that had to get cut. Not because we don't like them, like on the Patreon and stuff. That at some point, somebody's going to end up cutting it up, and somebody's going to become a member just to cut up our shit and put out all the shit that don't make it. So we know it's going to come out, but it's like, we just don't want to get the video taken down because we actually want the episode to come out.
Right.
But it's very minimal. Like, most of the shit, like, when I edit, it's usually technical stuff like a knock or because there was too long of a pause.
Right.
Most of what we say is what y'all hear.
Yeah, he kind of just threw you under the bus,
It'd
Pat.
be a lot.
He said the jokes that Pat made. He kind of just threw you under the bus there.
No, so you know how we got what I was saying is so the jokes that Pat puts out is like those short videos where they're like edited and you got like movie clips coming in. Those segments are actually way longer sometimes, where it's like, I done said like 10 more jokes, but they will probably YouTube will probably flag it as soon as we air it. So that's like the only reason it don't make it. But no, Pat can get a little wild too sometimes, though. I ain't gonna, we all under the bus. We all. I think Phace might be the wildest though on the real, because he Phace don't got no filter. He don't give a fuck.
You know what?
But
what goes over with it may take people a little bit to catch him, or what go over well is because it comes across and it take a second. I've been accused of that. Like, I'll say something and then it'll take people
like,
a second.
He said that?
Yeah. Because you didn't raise your voice.
He's unassuming. Yeah. He got the little baby face. So, like, most people think that he's like the innocent one, but he's probably the wildest out of the three. It's just, I'm the loudest.
Right. Yeah. So he get away with it. Get away with it real quick. And he would be referring to himself in the third person too. So I picked up on that. I said, okay, the third person. He said, yeah, Phace got something to say.
Yes. It's funny. And it's wild. Like, he differentiates between like Phace and then his real name. So like they're literally the same person, but Phace is like probably more calm, actually. Like, Phace is like, oh, it's okay. I'm gonna control myself. So he like, yeah. But then he go back into his real self sometime when you catch them rants. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, we all got it in there. Like, so I did a podcast where I had a co-host and the challenges and stuff like that. How do you find that, like, with the scheduling, and how do y'all manage your time? Because it's
always a struggle.
Because you guys are, to me, you guys are consistent. Like, I did when I had a podcast with co-hosting. We did, I want to say we recorded 16 episodes, and we did it once a week. We recorded, I think it was either Monday or Tuesday. We recorded it that day, like 12 noon, no matter what. We recorded for an hour, and then I put it, I edited and put it out, and, that's what we did. And you guys are pretty consistent. Like, how do you, and I know you just said it was a struggle, but just kind of get into that a little bit.
I say, at least on my end, I think it's just because our show dynamic is so built on all three of us being present. That's the hardest part, just because, like, you'll have, like, Phace and Pat might be good for this day at this time, and then I'm not. So, like, the thing that keeps us consistent, I think, is the fact that we got, like, our podcast day is, like, scheduled. That's on everybody's calendar. Everybody knows that, like, this time at this day, nothing else is going to be scheduled on this time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the same thing for the live. But it still be a struggle, man. Like, it ain't no way around it. It ain't no easy part about it. Like, some weeks we don't do the live just because, hey, man, you ain't gonna make it, and you ain't gonna make it until an hour later, and ain't no needing us all staying up that late. And then we got to think about all three of us got work the next day, so we ain't trying to be all dragging. So, like, then me and Phace got kids and a wife, so we got to consider that. So, like, I think what helps us to be consistent is, for one, our podcast is usually about an hour and a half to 2 hours long. So, like, that gives us the audio version full, plus we can chop each segment up and drop those. Then Pat, in between the segment drops I try to drop like a segment or a part of the conversation every day or every other day. Then in between that, Pat will chop up like just maybe the funny clips for social media, but then he'll drop that on YouTube too. So then that becomes a quick clip that people can just watch. So, like, I think because our format is so long, when we do a show for that week, we can turn it into other pieces of content for the rest of the week, because we know most people aren't going to sit there and listen to the full 2 hours right then. They go pretty much, they might listen to 30 minutes on the way to work, then pick back up on it another time. So because we have different listeners, I think that makes it easier, just because the podcast is so long. And, like, usually we have, like, there's been times where we might have like an hour and a half of actual podcast, but we got like maybe another hour of just B-roll of us just talking as we were getting ready and prepping, of us just of a segment that nobody liked because we felt it was boring. But hell, somebody might like it. We ain't got nothing to put out this Saturday morning, so I'll just go chop that back up and throw that out there. Like, I think the length of the conversation, like a conversation like we having right now, this would be about 2-3 weeks of content for us. But it's still a struggle.
Sometimes I'll look at one of our old lives or whatever, and then I'll see a joke, and in my head, I was like, you know what? If I did this joke, people will get it more. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I have my little videos where you'll see the movie clips and stuff like that cut through, pretty much, or whenever we have like story time or whatever. And it's still like I have projects set up or whatever in my tablet and phone or whatever to come out there, but man, it's so much content. Then you work a 10-hour shift or whatever, and then you try to fit those in. So I'm like, all right, Tiz, I'm gonna try to do my best. We'll try to do my best. If I can find something I know I could do real quick, I'll put out there or whatever. Or if I could flip a random time where we just like go on a tangent or whatever, I can flip that into something and then just put that out there on a random.
Yeah, but it's still a struggle. Like, what was it? Episode 37. Episode 37 is literally, it's 2 different shows, just because we were about to not have a podcast for that week just because scheduling for us, like, I think what happened?
It was just hectic.
Like we were just
Phace
like,
was going
we
through
could
stuff.
not, like, life had happened. It was a rough week. But we just made it, like, I don't know, like we just make it work every week. Like, so like we'll just do some random shotgun shit. All right, we ain't had no podcast this week. Hey, let's just do an extra live. Y'all got time real quick. Oh, you just happen to be off? Or I'll just be bored on a Saturday and my little man will be down for a nap. The wife will be maybe having a business meeting. So I got this little hour or two. And let me just do a shotgun live. And then it'll turn into, well, Phace will be at work, but he'll still call in and then it become a show. So like that's more content than now we can cut that up for the next week and make that. So I think it's a struggle, but the consistency comes from the fact that for one, we look at it as like our second job. So we take it seriously like that. Like it's a hobby, but it's a hobby that we get a lot out of too. Like we don't get enough financially, but like for us three, like this is the most we've talked consistently since we were all three living together. So like it gives us that. Then it's also like therapy. Like
right.
I could come here and like there's been times where like we don't necessarily like we might have that serious talk about whatever going on in life right before the show. But even in the show, like just the laughs that's going on might be what we needed to like make it through to tomorrow because today was so messed up. You know what I mean?
Right,
so like
right.
I think we get so much out of it and make it easy to just like even when we be like, yo, we don't know how we're gonna do it again next week. If we don't have a show this week, all right, cool. We don't give up. We just do it again the next week. Like the dude Kev on stage, like I'm taking his master class right now. And he got this saying where he said, like, when you doing podcast or content creation, you got to be prepared to like do this every day, 100 and some shows all year with nobody giving a fuck about it.
Right.
You just still doing it anyway. And it's like, because you never know which one of them videos that's a year old gonna be the one that all of a sudden pops off and now a bunch of people know about you and now you got a bigger audience. So like we just feel like at least for me, I ain't gonna speak for Pat Face, but I say like for me, when I started this, it felt like I was doing what I was called to do. It felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do. Everything about it has fell into place. Like, and the only time stuff in my life falls into place like that is when I'm actually doing the right thing.
Right.
So I think for me, like I told them when I first started too, like, if y'all don't want to roll or if y'all get tired of it, cool. I'm going to still show up every week and I'm going to do this. Like, this is literally what I want my next career to be, what I want my retirement life to look like, what I want this is it. This is my next journey. So like, I look at it just like I look at my full-time job. If I'm sick, I may have to call out today, but I'm still going to show up tomorrow. We're going to get right back into it. Whatever I missed that day, I'm going to make up all that work. I'm going to hit these deadlines. Like, and I look at the podcast like that, like we got 308 people, 353 if I count like all of the subs from like the podcast specific platforms like Spotify and Apple and all that. That every week, for some reason, they're showing up and they're getting something out of a show. So, like, I also look at it like, yeah, we going through shit, but it may be something in what we going through. It may be something that we got to say this week that may be what that person needed, or the conversation that sparks this person to go research something and they learn more just because they was looking for something to rebut what we said. Or, like, it's something that for 300 and some people to say, I'm going to spend my time and say, I will listen to you. If it's just for them 300 and some people for the rest of this,
right,
then I'm going to keep showing up every week for them. Like, it's something there. Like, I'm getting some out of it. They getting some out of it. So why deprive all of us of whatever that is that we getting? Here you go. If you're laughing at us every week and you think we're stupid, but you keep showing up and your entertainment or your therapy is hating us, cool. You showing up. There's something we're giving you that you wouldn't get otherwise. So let's keep providing. I don't know.
And if you are hating us, I don't even care because I'm joking anyway. And we're going to keep this going.
That's what's up, man.
We're going to keep this going.
Hey, man. If I got real estate in your brain for whatever it is, for whether it be some good or some bad, at the end of the day, that's something that you're getting from me. So I'm going to keep providing. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing so that you can get that. Because I don't know, that could be saving you you cursing me out through the screen every week could be saving you from snapping on your wife or beating your kid or doing something to yourself or going out and losing it and having a mental breakdown. So whatever it is, the pod is gonna be right back again next week for y'all that's in the pod squad and for people, and that's it, man. Like, and if nothing else, man, us three, we love each other. So
so
show
you
up
enjoy
and just keep
it.
having a conversation for us. Like, it's literally like I started, like it's the most we done talked since we were all living together. Like, and we are like probably closer through this process than we have been since then. So like for me, like I get to talk to my brothers every week.
Nothing like that.
The dopest shit ever. Like,
and technology.
We learn something new about each other, like every once in a while too.
Absolutely. Like to know I've known somebody more than half my life, but I'm still growing and like, oh, you did that? For real? Like, I think that's dope too. Like, so it's just, man, it's therapy. It's hopefully a career. We're providing something for somebody else. It's service. It's like just accomplishing so many things. So that's how we stay consistent. It's hard as hell because life be fucking with us. But
yeah, man. With all your responsibilities is definitely so. I'm still looking for that consistency. I went from doing it like once a week with the co-host, and then when I started doing individual, it was like once every couple of months, and then I was like, well, let me do it once every 2 weeks. And I don't fancy like talking to myself, so I haven't I haven't quite grasped that where I'm like,
that's the weird part for me. I hate.
Yeah, if I don't put anything out,
you gotta have somebody else to.
If I don't put anything out, if I don't get an interview, or if I don't get it edited, let me just go on and do like 20 minutes and just release that. Because I still haven't figured out how to manipulate the algorithm on YouTube, because YouTube was like an afterthought, and then with the audio podcast, like I got to figure. I'm just now like listening to you guys and listening to Max V, stuff like that, and trying to look.
I learned a lot from Max.
Yeah, check out the analytics, see who's listening, see the age group. Like I wasn't paying attention to that. I was like, all right, let me just put some stuff out, have some fun.
Yep.
I want to talk my shit, put some stuff out. But now I'm like, there's another layer to it. Now, okay, if you you buy all this equipment, all right, cool, get serious about it. And like you said, you enjoy, as long as you enjoy doing it. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy hearing people's stories. So I'm gonna keep on doing it. And I'm searching for that consistency. Now I'm searching for that consistency to do something, even if I just go out with like you guys do. You do Faces this or Tis that, and you release it. It's 20 minutes, it's 8 minutes, whatever the case is. I haven't got to that point where I'm doing that yet. But
the beautiful part is if you got your podcast and you got it set up, like have set deadlines. Like for me, like if it's arbitrary, then I treat it as such. But if I put something on my calendar, it's almost like the manhood in me be like, man, you got to stand on that now, man. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it forces me to be there. And the fact that like every Tuesday night at 9:30, I know my brothers are kind of dependent on me to show up because they're taking their time away from their families to show up as well. It holds me accountable. But if we didn't have that time and date as sacred, and we was just like, all right, we're going to do this every week, we'll figure it out, we probably would never record.
Right.
Because we'd always have some reason for something else going on, because there's always something else going on. But like, I literally had to put it like and make it sacred to the point where like Tuesday at 9:30, my wife know, all right, I got to be silent if I'm moving through the house because I know he's recording. My son, he know, okay, Daddy got doing the podcast today. He gonna be editing on Wednesday all day after work. So I know this one day of the week, I'm gonna have to kind of take it easy on him. He might not be able to hoop with me today after school, or he might not be able to watch this movie today. I'm gonna have to catch him Thursday. So it's like I had to treat it as if it was a part of my career.
Right.
And when I started to do that, in my brain, it rewired my thinking about it from being a hobby or something I just like to do to like, yeah, I do love to do this, but it also makes it serious for me to the point where like I make sure that I'm there and I show up. Like, and I had to like do that also to integrate it into my life, because like otherwise I would feel that time when I was supposed to be editing with something else, and then now I never edit it. So like I literally have my whole week planned out every week to like, okay, at the beginning on Sunday night, I know, okay, Monday, I got to have these 2 videos from last week cut to make sure I got Monday and Tuesday straight, so that until Wednesday when the new podcast drop, there's something there. I know on Tuesday night, that's recording night. I know on Wednesday, from the time I get home at 6 p.m. until midnight when the podcast drop, I know that that's editing time. I already blocked it. My brain is wired for that. On Thursday, I already know, okay, even though we don't do it no more because of past schedule changing, I know that that was meeting night. So if some pop up arbitrarily around the podcast where we need to talk business or handle business or do re-record something, or, hey, I forgot to hit record and we got to do the whole podcast over again, I got Thursday blocked out already in my calendar. So nothing else goes there. And then Sunday night, 9:30, I know that this is live time. No matter what else going on, this is live time. Now, we might still have to cancel it, but at least it's blocked off so that it's held sacred. And I think once I started treating it like I do my job, like everything in my job it's a calendar invite, it's a Outlook, something. It's an appointment it's a dinger on my phone going off. So like I had to treat the podcast like that. And because of that, it helps me to be consistent, because without it, life would fill in. But I'm able to kind of like life is going on while I'm at work, but I'm still at work. So by me treating podcasts like work, it compartmentalizes where I'm like, yes, life is still going on, but this is still important too, I guess. Go ahead, Pat.
Same here with me. Like luckily where I'm working at, I'm working from home pretty much, because when the pandemic started, they said, all right, everybody in the center, y'all working from home now or whatever. And then it got to a point where it used to be a time where like every 6 months we would have to change our schedule. But luckily the pandemic, it was like I had the same schedule for about a year and a half. So I always had that Tuesday off. I always had the weekend off. I always had that Tuesday off. So I just told them, like, hey, Tuesday is probably the best day I could do stuff. And we just went from there. And then my schedule changed again, but luckily I was able to find a schedule with the same days off or whatever. So Lord willing, we're going to keep it going like that, the same days off, and just go from there. Much. And then it was just a matter of, all right, I got to feel comfortable in the place that I'm having these conversations at or whatever. So at first I was recording at my friend's house or whatever, because that way I can get loud. I could be comfortable. I could be comfortable with myself or whatever. I don't have to or whatever, and get used to the podcast. But now I'm just like, just started from home or whatever. I at a certain time, I know nobody's really going to be up or whatever to interrupt or anything, or they getting close to going to sleep and stuff like that. So I don't have to worry about that or whatever. So, but mostly if you can get me in a routine and a schedule, then things can get done pretty much.
Yeah, that also helps. We're all 3 Capricorns. So like routine, structure, some type of plan, like we're planners. So like, I think that all helps us too. Like we're all kind of on the same wavelength as far as like how business should be handled. So like we plan out everything. And like at the beginning of the podcast, we sat down and we really like mapped out like, how do we want stuff to flow? Like where, okay, we used to take show notes and be like, all right, so this didn't work. This like, we were real meticulous on the front end. So like now that we're kind of in the flow of stuff, not too much is going to derail something. You know what I mean? Like if we miss a week, we double record the next week to make up for it. And we still put out the same amount of episodes. Like we still have an episode for every single week that we've been
recording. Yeah.
Like even if it wasn't recorded in that same week, there's one podcast for every single week that we've been around. I think that helps too. Like we're very serious about making sure we hit certain marks. Like, want to make sure people get whatever they subscribe for. We want to make sure you get that again next week in some form of fashion. So,
yeah, man, y'all talking about rewiring the brain. I'm getting consistency, a little neuroplasticity.
Yes. That's some real shit. Like, and my degree is in health and wellness. So like, I'm really into like how we can use like everyday things that we're doing to like kind of give us cheat codes and hacks to make us more efficient. Like, I literally plot out where I'm going to change lanes at when I'm on the way to work, just to make the drive to work more efficient. Like, I know, okay, my exit is going to be here. So 5 miles before that, I'm going to go ahead and get in this lane because I know it usually speeds up at this area because usually this is when more people are getting off the ramp. So I'm going to be able to get, like, I'm one of those. So like, I really have to be intentional about everything because if not, it's either I'm all or nothing. I'm either very intentional or I'm complete floater, free thinker, just kind of flying by the seat of my pants wherever the winds takes me. So like, to get us to be able to do this, and Pat is close to me on that. Like, me and Pat, like all three of us really, we'll go on adventures in life and just be just kind of everywhere. So like, to get us all structured, we had to be like, okay, this has to be set up in a certain way. We have to plan everything. Like even with the docket to the show, like we initially were going to just list a bunch of topics and just see what we get to. But just knowing ourselves, okay, so we would never, ever, we would only talk about one thing and then we beat that thing into the bush and never be able to talk about it again. And then, so you know what, let's just plan this out so we can at least have some type of flow to this other, because we gonna understand our conversation, but other people gonna be like, what the fuck? They all over the place with this. So like, yeah, just knowing who we are makes it so like planning. I think planning is the key takeaway.
The docket is the key.
Docket is key. We have a docket for everything. We have an agenda for when we have meetings. We have a docket for every show. We have a docket for whatever. Like,
because I'm really drifty.
You see how we go in there, like one question, we be, and this is how our conversations go. So we structure everything. And I think that has been the key to our consistency. We have a plan for every week and we hold each other accountable. Like if I forgot to drop some or if I'm falling off, Pat will hit me up. Hey man, I ain't seen nothing. I'd be like, oh yeah, I didn't drop nothing today. Or if I don't see something on social media, I'd be like, hey Pat, or if we ain't heard nothing about the store in a while, hey, Phace, man. So I think we just planning and checking in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's part of my problem. Like where you talked about, like you plotting on the highway where you going. I'm more like I'm kind of on autopilot all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm just kind of like sometimes like. Literally, I get from point A to point B, and I don't even remember. You know what I'm saying? I just, because I know I take that way home all the time. So I just get on the highway, and, you know, next thing you know, I'm home. So, and I think I do a lot of that. Although I do some planning and I do like bullet points about what I want to do. And I wrote some stuff down that I want to ask you guys questions. But the main thing is, like, I'll put down like 10, 15 questions that, you know, just based off of my research on you guys. But then I may only get to really like about 4 or 5 because it's something you say. So when you say you know, I ask a question, if you go another direction, I want to, you know, shit, I'm going to go there with you. I may write down like you may have said like shoe, and I might shoe, and I write a little dun because I want to go back to that because I want to, you know, I want the conversation to be natural. Right. So,
and that's pretty much you figured out the formula to our show every week. We have a docket, but like the Tecumseh story, that came in the middle of a story that had nothing to do with that, but it just came off a one-handed joke, and that joke might take us into another 20-minute conversation, but it's not about what we initially were talking about. We got to, and then Pat will be like, okay, so to get back on topic.
Right.
Like, but we just let it flow. Like, I find that, like, it's a balance of, like, structure, and then kind of just free form. I don't know, like fun chaos, like kind of that unknown. I don't exactly know what's gonna happen next, so let's see. Like I think it's a balance of that, but yeah, again, that goes into who we are naturally. You know, like our friendship has been like that. Like our interaction personally is like that. So I think everything that we do as the Podnas really does mirror. Like it's really just who we are. The only thing that really y'all don't get is our real names on cam. But outside of that, like it's how we act. Like, and I think that's also the easy part about being consistent is like we don't have no standard to bear really. Like our standard that we've set for ourselves is we're getting it out the mud and we're struggling. So like I think we also kind of get away with stuff that other podcasts may not be able to. Like our audience is kind of understanding if this week because Tiz was at a funeral or because Phace was going through some life shit or because, you know, Pat had a struggle in his life that week. Like they kind of understand, well, we know they're gonna come. We know they on the way with something. It's just they're a little more patient with us. So I think we get grace because we're consistently struggling. So I think people just kind of expect, well, you know, the bumbling idiot is gonna get it to us when they can. We'll be there. So yeah.
And it'll be entertaining.
Yeah, it's definitely like for me, I can appreciate it because I don't know if I said this when we weren't taping or not, but it just reminds me of, you know, hanging out with the fellas. You know, you kind of, you know, almost that barbershop feel. Not as wild as the barbershop because, you know, the barbershop gets crazy.
Yes.
But that whole feel like, you know what, you know, just maybe a nice 2 or 3 hour drive. You get in the car and y'all talk. And, you know, something
small kickback with your homies. Man.
Yeah,
you know, y'all just sipping a beer.
Something come on the radio. Yeah, something come on the radio, and you know, you remember a time or whatever. But the segments are funny, so I kind of, you know, sometimes I tune in because I just want to see what you guys are gonna do, and or to some of the video review of people doing some strange stuff, but
yes.
I wanted to just give y'all kudos. So because what you guys are doing is what I wanted to do, and I started off in 2019, and I, you know, fell off for a while, but like podcasts and, you know, guys like the guys that end up doing things like you guys do are what kind of reminds me like what I started out wanting to do, you know,
man, you doing it, bro. And I think this is a lane for you, man. Like, cause it's funny, like you're saying that like we're doing what you initially wanted to do, but like the lane you're in of like being able to interview people and like be good at that is something that we're just starting to like grow our legs in and get comfortable with. Like we that's what we're trying to get to where we can be interviewing people and have people come on and we have interesting conversations with them. But so like the fact that you're doing what we're trying to get to, and yeah, so you know,
we just compare notes and then
that's it, man.
There.
Like I'm learning from you and like how to let a conversation breathe more and stuff because we used to talking to each other, so we used to just talking over each other and we understand it.
Right.
But like for an interview, that don't work so well when you don't let the guest actually get a thought out without you. You know what I mean? So I'm learning right now as you're like asking us questions. Just like, oh, I noticed he didn't. Like, oh, he just letting us talk. Oh,
yeah, okay. Well, that's the thing.
Maybe I need to shut the hell up too. Then
when I promote it, I'm interviewing you guys. You know what I'm saying? You know, and sometimes I can have a long-winded question because in my mind it's like I want to ask something, but for whatever reason I go into let me give me an example and try to frame it in a way.
Paint the picture, man.
Yeah, paint the picture, and then you know to clarify the question sometimes, but that's just something that I do. But I do like things that I want to incorporate, you know, videos, sound effects and segments and stuff like that. I want to incorporate all those type of things. So when I'm watching, it's a weird thing. I'm watching for entertainment, but I'm also like watching what you're doing. Like
technical aspects.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
I'm saying, like, you know what I'm saying? So I may have to go back and watch it again because the first time I'm listening for something different.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? And then the second time, let me get the episode. Cause I'm like, wait a minute. This, when you guys cut up something and release it, I'm like, wait, this was in the last thing. Why? How did I miss this? This was in that. I was listening. I was rocking with it for, hour and a half. I didn't pick up that. And but when you break it down and you give me 8 minutes, it's concentrated and I'm listening to it and I picked it up. Like I didn't pick that up last time because I was listening for something else.
That's actually intentional. I learned that from Joe Budden, yo.
Yeah, so I'm like
Joe Budden and Kev on Stage taught me that, like, the beauty of like taking something that was already in long form, but like keying in on just that one part. Cause sometimes like that it can crystallize the whole conversation for a person. Like you heard everything, but sometimes it can be surrounded with the noise of the entire episode.
Right.
But that one point might have gotten like dusted off. But when you just it's just about that, nothing else. It's a little, oh shit. Mm-hmm. I even hear weird stuff in the background I hear, or hear like ad libs, like a person on a podcast might say, like, or a little background joke that nobody that was listening really caught, but I kept, oh shit, he said that. Like, oh, that's wild. Like everybody else catch that. Like, so I feel you. Get them little Easter eggs.
I try to like just say random stuff out the background. And I know half the time Tiz might not even notice and Phace might not notice, but it'll be recorded.
When I edit, that's when I catch all of the funniest stuff. Like out here. Cause like when I'm, when we talking, I'm listening to myself, my own voice plus y'all. But when I'm editing, I can hear every little individual thing. So I'll hear like Phace be saying some of the wildest shit, but just because he's like more monotone, like me and you will be like going back and forth, and Phace will just say like some, man, that shit dumb as hell anyway. And it's like it's like low enough to where like if you're not listening for it, you will just hear me and you going back and forth all loud. But when you know it's there, it's like it makes the whole picture that much more vivid. Like, like so that's my favorite part about it. Yeah. The little pieces.
Yeah. So I like those are things I want to incorporate. I was, I actually contemplated going through y'all stuff and loading up a couple of little things and then popping them in here. But I was like, let me just make sure I'm recording.
Hey, brother, I feel you.
Let me just make sure I get. Let me just make sure I get this on tape and record it. Stop trying to, get too crazy. And I'm out here
That's
pressing.
That's what we're trying to get to too. I feel you. Like,
pressing all these buttons and stuff, and then I go and listen back, and I ain't got shit recorded. So I've been concentrating on. Let me get this recording done. So
that's real, but. You're going to get there, bro. Like, I really like this lane. Like I told you, like, I've been listening to your other interviews in preparation to, like, get ready to come on. And, like, it's some talent. Like, it's an art to being an interview. And I don't think a lot of people, like, know that until they actually try to do it. But, like, now that we've done, like, 2 interviews, and one of them was with my uncle, I know, like, it's very hard to, like, have a conversation that sounds normal while also asking questions that are actually going to provoke good dialogue from the person that you're talking to and be engaging for the listener and like figure out how it should flow so it makes narratives. Like it's so much to go into it that like you're good at. Like you got a gift with that. Like,
appreciate it.
Yeah, this is definitely you. We're gonna be talking to you to gain some more insight from you, bro.
Oh yeah, man.
You're good at this.
Anytime y'all wanna y'all do the Zoom, anytime y'all want to Skype, Zoom or email or whatever, just reach out. I'm always gonna be available for that. I wanna promote.
Thank you, my brother.
Definitely I enjoy linking up with other content creators because even if we're doing something similar or different, it's the same thing where you have a passion for something and you know what I'm saying, I'm always in learning mode. I want to listen to it just to kind of put it in the background and listen to it when I'm cleaning or whatever. I'm mowing the lawn. I got it in my ears. And then the other time I'm like, let me go back and see, because I might have been laughing. Yeah, I want to see what they did. What worked in that? What didn't work? How could I incorporate it? Without just straight up, I don't want y'all tuning in and be like, yo, this nigga took the whole show.
I like it though, man. But that's smart. I think the greatest people in the world have always like been smart enough to like study the best practices of other people that do what they're doing and like learn from other people's mistakes and learn from their other people's successes. Like, it's a lot smarter than sitting there and going through the trial and error of just making the mistake and just kind of blindly grasping that stuff. Like, I think that's smart. Like, everything that I've learned from this has come from somebody else's knowledge. Like, everything that we implement in the podcast comes from us learning from somebody else. Like I said, I'm taking Kevo Stage Masterclass. I learned a tremendous amount about like I've even seen like the difference in videos that normally would do like 10 views are now doing like 40 to 50 views just on implementing stuff that Max V taught us.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like I'm all about like learning free game. Like I told you this whole time, I've been sitting there just like picking little nuggets from the way you are conducting this interview on like, okay, so the next time we have a guest, we need to clean up these things in here. We need to add this, you know what I mean? So I think you're doing exactly what we're supposed to do as humans. I think that's how civilization gets pushed, is we learn from the people who did one thing and we improve upon it in our own way or twist it into our new perspective. But it's all come from something else. Like, the space shuttle that we going to the moon on came from somebody studying an airplane.
Right.
And the airplane came from somebody studying a bird. And so it all comes from, just taking what's already there and just saying, how can you flip it? You know what I mean?
It's crazy
ain't nothing new under the sun, man. Everything been done before. Is just how are you going to do it in a way that just twisted it just that little bit to make it yours.
Right.
And that's the key. But anything we do, feel free to steal it, because we surprised that anybody would even be looking at us for anything, like, because we are struggle bus city. So I'm still tripping that somebody wanted to interview us. This is still like surreal as hell to me.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy the way you listen to podcasts. It's kind of like how I listen to music or whatever. I have it in the vibe.
Yep.
But it's same way as the podcast or whatever, because sometimes I just have it in the background. But it's the same way I listen to music the first time just to get the vibe off of it. And if I like the song, I'm like listening to every little thing that the person did in the song.
One to vibe, one to analyze.
Mm-hmm.
And sometime a third time just to see why I've had a certain vibe and it don't match the analytics, or like, when I analyze it, I feel like this was being said. So why does it make me feel like this at this part of the song or something like, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Since y'all, we could end the interview, and since y'all gave me permission, I'm going to change my name to the Rodness. How's that?
Right on. Yes. Or, especially since you had a conversation with it. I don't know who these dude is that's running around talking about they the two partners, but that pisses me off so bad.
Wait till y'all see that. Wait till y'all see me announcing the Rodness.
Come on, the Rodness. And you already part of the Pod Squad. You know you found Bam, so you good money. You know what I mean? You definitely the Rodner already. We ain't even gotta wait till you put out the feature yet. Like, it's already official. It's stamped.
You heard
it's
him
stamped.
now. He gave me fair use.
That's right. If you see him around these streets, put some respect on his name. That's the Rodner. Believe that. That's certainly Podnas approved, certified, and endorsed. Absolutely.
All right, fellas. Appreciate you.
Man, thank you, man. Appreciate you, Rodner. Already, bro.